I have a ring light now? Who am I, a professional? Ah! Oh my god, it literally looks so good. Ah! I knocked off my drink. Hey dreamers, hope you're all doing well. So this week, as you've probably noticed, is Mental Health Week on Welcome to Reality, and I thought that it could be good to talk about something a little bit different than everyone else. I just have to be an individual. That should not have taken 3 takes to do. So I saw a post a little while back on Tumblr, and then it was shared on Facebook and everywhere else that was totally inaccurate. It was about panic attacks and like things that you can do to help people with panic attacks, and I wanted to kind of clear up some of that and then talk a little bit about it in general. So I saved the post on my phone. I'm gonna read it to you guys really quick and just say what it said and then go from there. So the title was like, how to calm someone while they're having a panic attack. Step 1, wrap your arms tightly around them, kind of like a hug. It triggers a hormone in the brain and calms them. Note, they may resist, but they will relax into your arms at some point. Step 2, if you hum or whisper softly, the vibrations against their body will soothe them. Step 3, tell them they're going to be okay. Now, okay. First, I thought it might be good to kind of explain what a panic attack is, and I'm mostly just using my personal experience from this. I looked around on the web a little bit beforehand. It seemed to be pretty much the same as mine, but I'm going to mention that a little bit too. But mostly, for me, whenever I have a panic attack, it's usually onset by something dumb. And by something dumb, I mean it feels like something dumb to me whenever I think about it, but like it's usually something like I feel like this extreme emotion and like something is just terribly wrong, or I feel like it is even if it's really not, and all of a sudden like I start like getting more and more worked up, and then I start getting short of breath. Next thing I know, I'm hyperventilating and I think I'm gonna actually die, because as much as I'm trying to breathe and calm myself down, I can't, and I don't know how. And pretty much nothing helps me in these situations, but we'll get to that later. It's hard to like go from the ring light and then look on my phone, because I have the kind that's like right around my lens, not like one that's like around my entire camera, and so whenever I look into it, I just have this little ring like everywhere. But anyway, okay, so I looked on the Anxiety and Depression Association of America's website. I figured they'd be probably pretty credible, and they seem to be. And the symptoms they said for panic attacks are palpitations, pounding heart or accelerated heart rate, sweating, trembling or shaking, sensation of shortness of breath or smothering, feelings of choking, chest pain or discomfort, nausea or abdominal distress, feeling dizzy, unsteady, lightheaded or faint, chills or heat sensations, paresthesia, which is like numbness or tingling sensations apparently, derealization, which is like feelings of unreality, or depersonalization, being detached from oneself, which is kind of like dissociating, but I feel like that's supposed to be like way more intense, because I disassociate all the time and that's not like a panic attack, so it'd be much more intense than that for sure. Fear of losing control or going crazy, and fear of dying. Okay, so they didn't really mention like hyperventilating, but that could also go into like the fear of dying and the panic and all of the other stuff. So, okay. I'm really not sure where to go from here. Okay, so I did look around on the web again, and I was trying to see, first of all, some more false facts that are getting spread around. And by false, I literally, panic attacks are different for every person. Like, obviously there are some of the similar symptoms, but like the ways to treat it or calm it down are like totally different from person to person. So when I say it's false, it means it is very false for me, and usually just seems irrational for someone having a panic attack. If you know that that person specifically needs that while they're having a panic attack, great, do that. That's awesome. But if not, do not do these things for sure, okay? Mostly ask them what they need. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and get into some of this stuff. So there was a website that said one of the good things to do if you know someone who's having a panic attack and they're having it like right in front of you, assure them that there's nothing to be afraid of. Now listen, the reason this one gave me issues is because you generally know there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, that's a big factor of anxiety, like in general. Like if you're having an anxiety attack, anxiety and panic attacks are 2 different things, and I might talk about that in a little bit, but anxiety in general, which is usually what causes panic attacks, it's just like more extreme, will be irrational, and like you know half the time that it's completely irrational. You're like, this is dumb, like I shouldn't even be scared about this, like, you know, I'm gonna walk out to my trash can and there's not gonna be some random car come to life and run me over, but like I'm terrified of that for whatever reason. That's just like a random example, it's not actually true. So yeah, so like it's irrational half the time. Like you know that this is not a logical thing, like it's probably not gonna happen, like I'm fine, like I'm really actually truly fine, but you still can't stop panicking or stop feeling that fear and having the thoughts. So trying to tell someone who's having a panic attack that, hey, there's nothing to be afraid of. All that is gonna do is, first of all, piss them off. Because what the f do you know about this? Like, you're not me right now. You're not actually dying right now. Like, get out of my face. Like, stop trying to tell me it's all okay. Okay, because I do not feel okay. There is something to be afraid of, and even though it's not a logical thing, and I can't pinpoint exactly what it is except for dying, there feels like there's something to be afraid of. So yeah, don't just try to sit there and tell me that, like, hey, don't be scared. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of, and just expect me to be like, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. Well, hadn't thought of that before. Amazing. Like, now suddenly I'm done with my panic attack. Like, no, all that does is piss them off and make them feel invalidated, because you're literally saying, hey, you're like terrified of actually dying right now, but there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, you're fine. Like, don't do that. Especially because, like I said, you're already in an irrational state whenever you're having a panic attack. So rationally you can be like, oh yeah, sure, you're right. Like, there really is nothing to be afraid of. But when you're having a panic attack, you're not thinking rationally. So why in the world would you just be like, huh, I hadn't thought of it like that? Like, and the one right after that was let them know it's only temporary, which just is for the exact same reason. Just don't do it. So the next one is encourage them to breathe. And listen, I get why that one's important. Like, obviously, like, making sure you're getting enough oxygen to your brain and like making sure that your body is still like actually functioning is important. But like I said, and this would, I guess, just like depend on each person and how their panic attacks go. But for me, it is largely hyperventilating. If I'm hyperventilating, literally, I feel like I can't breathe, don't sit there and try to tell me to breathe. If you sit there and I'm having a panic attack, I am hyperventilating, and you're like, hey, just breathe, okay? Breathe in and breathe out. What do you think I'm doing already? I'm literally breathing. I'm just breathing too fast, and I feel like I can't breathe because I'm breathing too fast, and all you're doing is like making me more angry and more aware that I can't breathe by telling me to breathe. Like, that's just gonna give me more anxiety. Don't do that. Again, unless you already know that the person needs that whenever they're having a panic attack. But generally, I feel like overall, like, that's just not a good idea, but I don't know. At the very least, if they're hyperventilating, don't do that. Regardless, just don't. I'm getting like so heated over this. Okay, and on that same website, the one I saw that I think drove me the most insane was attempt to have an engaging conversation with them. Honestly, how did someone think that was a good idea? Like, I get, like, oh yeah, maybe try to distract them or whatever, but like, don't sit there and try to have a conversation with me. I think I'm about to die, okay? Regardless, I mean, obviously it's not logical, but I'm thinking I'm going to die because I feel actually like I'm going to die. And I can't breathe, and I'm hyperventilating, and everything is too much, and everything is just like making me even more insane, making it worse. Why would you sit there and be like, hey, so how's the weather? Did you hear about the Panthers this week? Like, what do you know? Like, don't do that. Again, unless that's what the person needs. Because I guess, like, that one I could see kind of potentially working for some people, but especially for me, like, if I'm already panicking, I'm already having that bad of a time, don't try and have a conversation with me. It's gonna seem trivial. I'm gonna snap at you if I can even get enough breath to get words out. Like, that's another thing too. Like, how are you supposed to talk if you're hyperventilating? Like, I get maybe it's like, oh, well, this will help them slow down and whatever, but honestly, it would just make my anxiety worse. Like, a lot of the time, mine has to do with, like, I need to stop talking, I need people to stop talking, and I need to stop talking, because if that doesn't happen, it's just gonna keep growing and getting worse. And so maybe it is just like a me thing, but like, seriously, if you're around me, regardless, like, whoever, like, you're around, if you're around me and I'm having a panic attack, do not try to start a conversation with me. Just don't. Like, don't do it. Like, that is so bad. Moving on. Ah, God, that one just makes me so angry. I don't know. And the last one that was on that website was do stay with them. If the person panicking wants you to leave, it's most likely the anxiety talking. More often than not, a panic attack only gets worse if the person is left alone to suffer through their own thoughts. Stay by their side no matter what. I can understand this one. Don't completely leave them alone. Like, I do kind of agree with that. Like, don't completely just like leave, like go drive to McDonald's and get some french fries. Like, don't like just poof. But at the same time, if they are saying you need to go, that means you need to go. I already talked about this a little bit, but like when I'm having a panic attack, I don't need anyone talking to me. Like, I need you to stop. I need you to let me fix this, okay? Because I'm the only one who knows how to deal with it. I'm the only one who really can fix it. So you need to back up. Like, sure, be there if I need you, but back up. Because I am claustrophobic as well, and maybe this is like an onset of panic attacks for other people too. I don't know. But for me, like, I need, like, space. Like, my claustrophobia is pretty bad anyway, but like especially if there are people near me whenever I'm in that heightened sense, because panic attacks make everything feel worse. Every single little teeny tiny thing that is like, you know, different in your head or whatever, it just like brings it out and makes it feel so much worse, and like to the point you can't deal with it. And so if you are hovering beside me, and first of all, in that first post where it was like wrap your arms around them and they'll resist, but it lets this hormone go in their mind and then they'll relax in your arms. No, because like I said, my claustrophobia, like that's literally the worst thing that you can do. Like, I get so much worse with my claustrophobia whenever I'm having a panic attack. Like, I don't like hugs anyway, but that's not, I mean, that part's just me. But like, I feel like this isn't just me. Like, do not force someone to hug you. Do not force them to have to deal with your presence. If they need you gone, they need you gone, because I don't give a shit. Like, they've done this a million more times than you have. Yes, it's in a logical state, but at the same time, they're still the same person and they've still survived many more of them than you have with them, most likely. And if they need you to leave, then you need to leave. I almost cursed there, and then I had to like remind myself that I can't do that on here. But seriously, yes, there's anxiety, and yes, it talks and whatever, but like, no. Like, if anything, step outside the room and listen, and if they need you, jump back in. Right over. I'm like also kind of disoriented because this ring light, like I legit can't see my camera. I can like kind of see the thing, the little screen beside it where I'm like can see myself, but like it's like darkened at the edges because the light is so bright in my eyeballs, and every time I look away I like see it. And anyway. Okay, so like I said, I was looking around on the internet for like, you know, things about panic attacks and looking for tips and etc. I went to WebMD and I looked and saw like what they had as far as tips for like helping when someone is having a panic attack near you, and theirs I kind of like. So I thought it could be good to just kind of share these just so you guys have them, so you've heard them, because I've mostly been saying like negative things about all of the things that I've seen so far. I mean, it's great to know what not to do, but it's also important to know what to do. For me personally, I need space. I need you to be there, but I need space and silence. But that's just me. So WebMD says that you need to stay with the person and keep calm. Yes. Offer medicine if the person usually takes it during an attack, which would come more along with like knowing that person already and like get their medicine for them. It's going to be very hard for them to take the medicine anyway, especially if they are hyperventilating like I do, because I don't know if you've ever tried to drink something without being able to breathe, but it's pretty impossible, and you don't want them to like inhale the water or whatever, but like do try and help them get their medicine. Like that's a really good one. I don't take medicine for it, but I know some people do, and it's a good idea if you need to, if you have them that often. So anyway, yeah. Move the person to a quiet place. That is a good one. Now the moving would be, you would have to be very careful about how you do that, because it is so hard to move or do anything when you're in the middle of a panic attack. And like I said, you don't want to force them to be in physical contact with you at all. And you know, I've actually been lucky enough to usually, not always, but usually be in pretty private places whenever I've had my panic attacks. So I haven't had to deal too much with that, but like when it first starts happening is probably when you should try and get them to move. Like, don't pick them up and be like, come on, we're going, but be like, come on, let's go somewhere quieter, let's go, you know, hide out and do whatever. And that'll usually help too, because like I said, at least for me, like sensory overload, lots of noise, like all of that just contributes and make everything feel more suffocating. And like, I'm getting anxious just talking about this. Okay, and this is probably my favorite one that this website says. It says, don't make assumptions about what the person needs. Ask. Yes, yes, yes. That is the best advice I have seen literally anywhere. Like, who would have thunk that like WebMD would be the best one? Because usually, you know, there's a joke about like, oh, I have these symptoms, go on WebMD, ha, you have cancer. But like, honestly, like that's the best advice I've seen anywhere, because even as I keep saying in here, like, this is what it's like for me, and for me it's like this, and like do this and don't do this, but like the biggest thing is knowing the person and knowing what they need in the moment, and like it can change from time to time. So just always ask, what do you need? And if they don't know what they need, that's okay. Don't put any pressure on them, but definitely ask and make sure that you know what they need from them. Don't just assume, don't even necessarily go off of past experiences. I only know some of mine because they're pretty much the same every time, but even still it could be different, and just let them tell you. Speak to the person in short, simple sentences, which is good. Like I said, with the whole like, oh, try and engage them in a conversation, no, that is overwhelming. That's gonna make you try and like keep up, but you can't because you think you're dying. So yes, short, simple sentences are gonna be very good, because then you can understand what they're saying and you can process it, because processing time is so much longer when you're having a panic attack. Everything feels like you're about to die, so nothing seems like it matters, and it takes a long time to get through that channel or whatever you want to call it. So yes, short, simple sentences are best. Like, are you okay? Not, how are you feeling right now? Do you think that there's anything I can do for you? Do you want me to call your mom? Do you want me to call your therapist? Blah, 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 blah. The person's gonna be like, stop talking. I was gonna make a joke, but it seemed, yeah. Be predictable and avoid surprises. Very good, because some people like are really weird about that. I'm not sure, I haven't really had to deal with that too much, but like some people are very like, you have to make sure that you don't like throw anything on them, because like I said, I think it goes back into the processing time. Like everything is slower, like it takes a longer time to get through your head and like kind of process and like come back and you have like a logical like answer or whatever. So yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. Help the person focus by asking them to repeat a simple, physically tiring task, as such as raising his or her arms over the head. I've never tried that one, but I don't know how that would work or not. But again, because that's so simple, I feel like that is good, because you're focusing on, I can't breathe, I think I'm gonna die, I can't breathe, oh my god, everything hurts, everything is scary, oh my god, what's gonna happen, there's too much. And so when you're focused on that, like that's partly why the processing time is so like slow. And I think that's why that other person was saying like trying to like get them in a conversation, like whatever, like I get it, but that's not the best way to do it. But I could see kind of like a clap your hands over and over, and then suddenly you're like focusing on your hands. And of course it's still going to be really hard for a while, but eventually you're going to be able to focus back on your hands and slow your breathing down, and then whew, you're going to start to be okay again. And then the last one was help slow the person's breathing by breathing with them by slowly counting to 10. I think that's probably what the other website meant to some degree when they were like, encourage them to breathe. I think that's definitely a later stage thing to do, like once they've started, like they've already hit their peak, because it always goes up in a peak. There has only been one time ever that I was able to stop a panic attack before it got to the peak, but then I wound up having it later on. But when it was, I'm frazzled. I was gonna say flustered, and then I couldn't remember if that was a word. I'm literally, so it was this place that I was working beforehand, and I'm actually gonna do a whole story time series on that place, because oh my god, I only worked there for a month and literally it was a nightmare. But the last day that I actually wound up working there, I was walking around. I'd only been there for like 45 minutes and was already feeling so anxious. I felt like I was about to have a panic attack, and then I asked to go home early. So I got to my car, and on my way to my car, it was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and it was just building. And then I got in my car, literally sat down, and I barely was able to shut the door before the hyperventilating started, and I like had to like grip, and I honestly don't know what it was that like knocked me out of it. I feel like you kind of become a different person. You go on like a different plane of reality, you know, whenever you're trying to get out of a panic attack. Actually, when you're in a panic attack, you're in a different plane of reality. And I somehow managed to stop it right there, just for long enough to drive home. And then as soon as I got, literally, I parked, I came inside, I sat on my bed, and I had the rest of my panic attack. So yeah, anyway, the point of that was like, definitely wait until after the peak, you know, so like it's gonna build, and you can try and slow it down, but it's gonna build. And you know, yeah, maybe you can get a lower peak, and that's great, like definitely shoot for that. But you know, it's still gonna peak to some extent, and once it starts going back down, that's when you're like, okay, now 1, 2, 3, and you breathe to 10. And actually, I feel like the clapping might work for that too, like in, out, or something. I really don't know. I'm not a therapist. Then it also had like some sayings that you could say at the end of that, like, you can get through this, I'm proud of you, good job, tell me what you need now, concentrate on your breathing, stay in the present, it's not the place that's bothering you, it's the thought, what you're feeling is scary but it's not dangerous. Those are like not quite invalidating you. But yeah, the like what you're feeling is scary but it's not dangerous, like that's a good one. It all comes down to language, as it usually does. Like that other website was saying, like tell them that there's nothing to be afraid of, which is like it invalidates their emotions and what they're feeling, and then it kind of makes them feel even more out of place and everything else is more wrong, and they're already like, I become super aware of myself, and like everyone's watching me like this. Like I don't like feeling vulnerable, which is kind of one of my big flaws, and when you have a panic attack, like you're literally vulnerable because you think you're dying, and like how much more vulnerable do you get, you know what I mean? So like you don't really feel comfortable with people seeing you like that anyway, and so like you don't want them invalidating you and making you feel crazier. But that, I feel like that language is just like, yes, like this is very, very scary and I completely understand, but it's not actually going to hurt you. That's fine. That's good. That's positive. Anyway, I like how this video wound up becoming more of like a frazzled rant video about panic attacks and whatever, but anyway, yeah, I wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about that. And if you are having a panic attack, there are some exercises you can do. One that works for some people, not for me, but one that works for some people is like grounding, and you can like research more about grounding. I'm not good at it, so I don't really know a ton about it. Every time I've gotten out of a panic attack, I've just kind of had to like wait it out and calm myself down, because everything else makes me more anxious, and I'm fragile. I don't know. Okay, that's gonna be all for this video. I'm sorry it was so all over the place. I don't know. It's midnight! Okay guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video. I really hope it's been in focus because I can't tell. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to check out my channel at youtube.com/c/coffeecatchick, or you can just type in Coffee Cat because now I actually am the first one who shows up. And please don't forget to subscribe to, oh, it's subscribe, I forgot. I say subscribe on the Coffee Cat channel because of a blooper from a long time ago. But don't forget to subscribe to Welcome to Reality. Check out everyone else's videos from this week and from all the weeks before if you haven't seen them already. Everyone on here is super cool and super talented, and I'm really happy to be a part of this. So check us out. We're having fun. I don't know. Things. Okay, I will see you guys next Friday. That's all for now. Shit, I forgot to work on an outro again. It's really hot in my room right now. Don't let the bed bugs bite, I think is something I said I was gonna say. I just have to be an advent. And sensations of shortness or depersonalization, like being okay, so I again was looking around on the website, and I went to